I'm so excited to chat with you. I really love this series. I have so many things just to get into, but season two is so brilliant. I'm so
Thank you.
excited to see it.
Oh my God, I'm really excited.
I know, right? It's so soon. A
It
few days,
is.
and then it'll be here.
I know.
But I mean, I wanted to talk just a little about going back to where it all began. I know it's Survival of the Thickest. It's a book of essays that you created. And now it's this wonderful Netflix series. So
Yeah.
when was the moment that you realized this could be a show?
When I wrote the book, I had no idea that anyone was going to read it. And so the fact that people from Netflix read it and they were like, this should be a show, I'm like, yes, it should. How? And then meeting my co creator, showrunner, it just seemed so easy. In fact, the one problem we had is that there were so many stories and there was themes and there's my mission statement and I want to be inclusive and authentic and with specificity and everything, including the music. It's got to be New York. And so while the idea was so big, I was like, I don't know, I want to do it, but where do we start? It's like once we started building it, I was like, boom, this is what it is. It's so easy because it's like my actual life.
And then you just went boom and it went show.
Kinda. It was like when somebody said, well, what's their diner? What's their coffee shop that they meet at? And I'm like, I grew up going to drag bars all over New York City. And I haven't seen that and I don't know why. It's always a place they visit by accident or oopsie poopsie, it's someone's birthday. And I'm like, no, I actually live there. Like I would actually go in the kitchen in the back and make my own quesadillas. And so it was really fun and then also important to showcase these spaces. And then when Peppermint signed on to do the show, we hadn't met before, but like her and I just like, it was almost like we were twinning because we had actually performed in all the same queer spaces in New York City, but like had just missed each other because, she was doing drag and I was doing stand up. And it's just like, oh, this is what it is. It's the community.
I mean, I love that because I was going to talk a little bit about, like what the line of Mavis is to your stories, because obviously, you're taking these essays, but you're also creating a new character that isn't, necessarily you. And then
Yeah.
also there's so much queer representation in the show, especially in season two. I mean, you bring in these relationships, there's a wedding.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more about what kind of stories you wanted to bring into it?
Oh man, there were so many stories like from my real life that I was like, how do we fit into a TV show, which is a writer's room of amazing people, creative people that can like sit in a chair for like 8 hours. Very weird to me. I'm like, no one gets up is like amazing and so important. But then also the things that I want for the world. I want trans people and non-binary people to have the same rights as everyone. I want women to decide for their bodies. Like there's so many things that I want for the world. And I'm like, how do we put it in a TV show? It's hard to get to all of them because the list is long. But, even, Khalil's written after one of my best friends in seventh grade. And I want him to be able to speak freely about his mental health without people judging him or telling him to shut up or whatever it is. And so, yeah, it's the stuff that I've lived, but also the stuff I want to see that come together and I think make, I don't know, just a beautiful love letter to my friendships and people who honor their friendships.
Absolutely. I mean, you're touching on so many things because I also loved Khalil's, about therapy and going into those conversations and just kind of normalizing talking about men's health. And I did want to just go back a little to working with Peppermint
Yeah.
because she's such a beautiful character on the show and just being herself. So what was it like kind of collabing and forming that friendship and then working on these episodes that are special, especially episode 6?
Oh my God, it's everything. I mean, Peppermint and I definitely danced in the bathroom mirror to the same Janet Jackson songs. And so it's real, like when I tell you about twinning, it's like really fun and important when I'm just like, hey, I see a relationship for you, for your character. We see you out of CC Blooms a lot. So, I know that there's like a showgirl look and then it's like the real life look. And like, you know, what does that, because I hang out with Peppermint all the time and her look is not what she serves on stage. So I'm like, let's lean into that to show what it looks like us moving in the world, which I think is important. And yeah, I mean, we were like giddy little schoolgirls when we cast her husband and realized that she was gonna go like dress shopping. It's just, the wish fulfillment was so real. And then when we get real life news, it becomes bittersweet. But these are the things we hold on to. Here's a space that we can feel safe and create.
Yeah, no, I mean, this coming out this year is definitely, something that we need and we need people to see.
Whew.
And yeah, like it's you can't stress how much we need, the representation on the screens right now,
Yeah.
in all regards.
Yeah.
And I know that the fashion choices in this show, obviously fashion is so important, but it also makes such bold statements. I mean, there's trans solidarity even seen through that. So can you kind of talk about working with the costume department and what encouraged you to make those statements?
Yeah. I used to edit news a long, long time ago. And I remember one of my bosses, he said, when you do B-roll, make sure that you show Black and brown families whenever you can, just walking and being normal. Because at that time, they were just like doing perp walks. They were just being arrested. They're like wanted for something. And he's like, even the B-roll, just like subconsciously, like people will, believe and think it's okay for better or for worse. And I'm like, oh, what I heard from that conversation was every little thing matters. Every little detail is telling. And if I'm really showcasing my world and the world that I believe we should live in, then if you look back at the series, you will see the subway posters are about women's health. They're about Black women running for, I don't know, some sort of like, I don't know, they're like a politician or something. LOL, I'm no AOC. And even down to the clothes that we wear that doesn't have a message on it, they are 9 times out of 10 from a Black or queer designer. And so, even down to the background, casting background, it's like all those things matter because these are people actually in the world. So why wouldn't you showcase them? It's insane to me. So yeah, I think all of that, I don't know, is important. And thank you for picking up on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I love the intention behind the whole show, and I also love you just bringing up, saying B-roll and talking about that journalism history that I know you have.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just kind of ask, I mean, you wanted to be an entertainment reporter.
Yeah.
So what is your view on entertainment news right now?
Oh man. I don't know. A lot of it doesn't feel like news. It just feels like gossip. But, there is that like podcasting type of energy where you can have a conversation about it and debunk it and you have opinions and it's hilarious and sometimes hurtful and it's like wild. But I miss just like, I don't know. I just miss sort of honest and frivolous journalism in the entertainment space. And maybe it was never like that. Maybe, I was too young to realize that there are tabloids and there are paparazzi and people were being blackmailed and all those things really did exist. So maybe I have like wish fulfillment for something that never even happened, but I know how I'm going to move in the world and I know that I have to sleep at night. And so I'm not going to partake in that shit, period. Like we have to be kind to each other and you could be hilarious and still be kind. I don't know why people think you can't. You just have to try harder, bitch.
I love what you said there. And I really feel like when I was going to school, there was this like stigma that entertainment was just talking about, what the celebs are wearing. And it was like, you need to do politics because that's the only way it could be meaningful.
Yeah.
But I feel like today there's so much media that really tries to entertain, but also tell stories. And I feel like that's also a big part of comedy, where you don't really realize that it's there to entertain, but it's also there to tell stories and to really talk about what's happening in the world.
And also feed the culture. You know, it's not just a song. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just a song. Like, a lot of people didn't know who Kendrick Lamar was, and now they do.
Mm-hmm.
And his hidden messages in his halftime show. You know, we are talking about stories that we're not even allowed to tell anymore. Maybe we never even were, you know? So we're going to take Black the Night and do what we do and put it on a platform while we still can.
And can you talk just a little bit about your comedy career and kind of how, on that same note, like it might have evolved over time, or how what you're putting into your stand-ups now that might be different from when you started?
I mean, to be honest, I was always that bitch. You know, I just have a bigger platform now. I have a bigger stage. But I was on a small stage somewhere in Atlanta doing a 15-minute special for Netflix 8 years ago. And my bit was right out of the Me Too movement. And the bit was called Nobody Wants to See Your Dick. Like, why is everybody taking their dick out? You know somebody wants to see your dick if they say, can I see your dick? I'd like to see your dick, please. That's how you know. If no one's saying that, don't take your dick out. And then I name names. Oops. My ring flies off. Yeah. You know, I was like, Harvey Weinstein, nobody wants to see your pastrami dick. That's disgusting. So, like, thank you so much. I thank you so much, Peter. But yeah, I mean, I've always been that bitch. It's just now I know that now I'm happy that people know me.
I love that. I do want to talk a little bit about just in season two, the last episode, just a smidge, because I really loved this like small moment right at the end when she is trying to kind of don't get nervous. She's saying I'm a New Yorker, I don't need anybody else.
Yeah.
And then she kind of has that moment where she's like, maybe I can let someone else take care of me and let someone else in and not have to do everything on my own.
Yeah.
And that was such a strong takeaway, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
My mom raised me to be a very independent person, but dating was so hard for me because I was like, I can hold my own doors. I can pay for my own drink. And then like, guys would be like, then what do you need me here for? And I'm like, good question. Let me think about it. I'll get right back to you. And so, you know, Grace Edwards, who's like an amazing writer and producer on the show, when we were talking about this moment, she said this, one of her friends was dating this guy and nobody was really sure if this guy is the one. And then that moment happened with the taxi where he stood up for her and everybody was like, oh, he good. She's good. He got this. And I was like, that is a beautiful moment. And that spoke to me so hard for any independent bitch who just keeps fighting and fighting and fighting, clawing her way to whatever top that is. And someone saying, I got your back. Also, sit down and let me do this for you. Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad you picked up on that because I thought it was a very special moment, Sue.
I mean, as an independent person who's like, I don't need anyone, I was like, oh, this is...
Yes, that's the love language. It's just like, oh, you do got it. And I didn't have to ask you. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, if someone wants to fight my fight just a little, I'll let them. Like,
look, it's a love language.
You're right. It is. And it makes so much sense now, seeing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.